Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Andrew Laws. He is the founder of Yes SEO, SEO agency, and he is also a podcast host, the Business Amplifier podcast. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you very much, AJ. It's very nice to be here. Nice to meet you as well.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Andrew. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn about SEO mastery from you. But before we come to SEO mastery, let's learn a bit more about you, your background, your journey, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Well, I'm a 48-year-old man, and I've lived in the UK my whole life. I started this agency, SEO, because I needed a way of performing as a musician, but not having a full-time job. It's a bit of a funny way to kind of get into starting a business. But many, many years ago, 24 years ago, I was touring the UK as a musician, and you can't have a job and tour because otherwise you'd have to be always asking your boss for 2 weeks off here and all those kind of things. And well, I've grown out of touring. The idea of sleeping in the back of a van in the freezing cold is not appealing to me anymore. But what I do have is a lovely agency with wonderful teams, and I love helping small businesses, and it's still what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Andrew, now let's understand SEO. From the time it was a confusing word to time a lot of experts were there explaining what SEO is, and then a lot of things change. Now people talk about SEO, but not as much. Maybe people have understood about it, but what are the things that we are yet to understand about SEO? Tell us about that, Andrew, so that have you fully understood about SEO? Is it a complicated thing? Is it a simple thing for individuals, businesses, to understand?
I think, as with any profession or any specialism, SEO is incredibly complex, but you don't need to know all the really complicated parts of it in order to use SEO to help your business grow. So yes, there are thousands of things we know. Me and my team, well, I've been doing this for over 25 years now. There's a lot up here. There's a lot in my brain, but I can simplify SEO a lot just by saying the best way to do SEO is probably not to know very much about it. Let me explain. SEO, Google, as it were, rewards good businesses. SEO is really good at amplifying how good your company is. If you have an excellent company and all your clients or customers love you, then you're already part of the way to winning at SEO, because all Google's really trying to do is weed out the bad companies from the good. So if you have a great company, then you might never need to speak to an SEO agent, agency like ours. Where we come in and where we spend a lot of our times is we work with small businesses and entrepreneurs who are excellent, but haven't quite managed to make that obvious on their website or their online presence. So we come in and we find all the brilliant things about companies and say, this is the bit that you ought to tell more people about. So yes, there are complicated parts to it, but like a lot of things in business, you don't need to know all the minor details in order to drive your business forward. You just need to know which direction to point the ship.
Which direction to point the ship, if you can tell us, because the ship is moving towards its own direction, but we do not know. Business wise it might be moving towards the right direction, but no one can tell whether SEO wise it is moving in the right direction. So how do we know? How do we make sure that the ship is also moving in the right direction and the SEO is also moving in the right direction, perhaps in the same direction?
No problem. It's a question I get asked a lot because, as you mentioned a few moments ago, the world of SEO seems to evolve and move very, very quickly. There's always an algorithm change, or Google's saying this, or somebody else is saying that, and it can be quite overwhelming. But the best way to make sure you are pointing your ship in the right direction is just make sure your website is very clearly understood by your target audience. The danger of getting too obsessed with SEO is you can start to think, well, I need to do all these technical things and I've got to make sure that's there and I've got to buy links from there. And now this guy's telling me that I should put video on. Forget all of that. If you run your business for more than, I don't know, 6 months, you know what your customers want. You know what your clients are looking for. And you should have a good understanding of what it is that encourages people to buy from you, or at least to get in contact with you. So the best way to make sure the ship is pointing in the right direction is to ensure that your current customers and clients understand your website. Because if you've got a lovely set of clients and you want your business to grow and to find more people like that, then the people you're already working with are one of your best resources for learning. So ask them, well, what is it you liked about me? For example, we did this recently, and some of our clients came back and said, well, we're able to get in contact with you and you reply to us when we message you. I was like, okay, if that's something people like, I need to make sure there's something on the front of my website that says, we pride ourselves in being the agency that doesn't use complicated words, the agency that will reply to you. So it's really that. As I said earlier, SEO is about amplifying your excellence. Look for what's good in your business and just turn the volume up.
Right. So if my customers, clients understand my website, is it a surety that the algorithm and Google, all this will also understand what I do? Is it like that?
It's not a surety, but with SEO, you don't have to have the best website in the world. It worries me that some businesses, when they're looking at the budgets for years, especially the marketing budget, they spend too much money developing a website. All you've got to be is better than your competition by just a little bit. So another good way of making sure you're pointing the ship in the right direction is get to know your competitors. Look at their websites. Where are they going wrong? What is it you do or don't like about them? Nothing is a surety with SEO. It's always about putting our best foot forward, trying to make sure that people and Google understand how good we are. There are some technical things you can do to get a little bit better. So we recommend everybody connects their website to something called Google Search Console. And this is a free service from Google. And it's where they'll tell you the bits of your website they don't understand. And apart from that, just keep being excellent, keep iterating, keep constantly improving. Unfortunately, there is no 100% surety. You've just got to be more focused than your competitors.
Right. Being an SEO agency, how do you do that? How do you differentiate yourself from other SEO agencies who are working for their clients? How do you do that? It is a difficult thing or very easy thing for you to do because you know SEO, but then others also know SEO, perhaps in their own way.
The way I do this for our agency is, as I mentioned earlier, we are the agency that won't baffle our clients with really confusing words. But we've worked really hard over the last few years to make sure we are the best we can possibly be. So something we do for our clients now, we give every client a 90-day plan. Because when we start working with clients, the goal always is more sales or more leads. And we go away and we do all the technical stuff behind the scenes, beavering away, my team in, doing crazy complicated things, but all the client really cares about is ultimately making more money. So we set up a 90-day plan and we say, right, in this quarter, we have these 3 goals, and it might be get these pages of the website to #1 on Google. It might be double the number of leads. It could be any number of things. And then we break down, this is how we're going to do it. These are our objectives, and our KPIs will tell us, key performance indicators will tell us whether we're going to reach those goals. And then the results really speak for themselves. The reason we do this is, in my head, SEO is really obvious and it's really easy. So we're always trying to find ways to translate that to the client, partly so that they know they're getting value when they hire us, but also because the ultimate goal is to work with people to the point that they no longer need us. I believe SEO and all good marketing is about democratizing information, democratizing knowledge, just making it really clear to business owners that, we've brought you this far. You now know enough to look after yourselves. I do this very deliberately because, having been in SEO for a very long time, in the very early days, people would sell SEO and retain clients by just sort of saying, oh, this is all wizard stuff. If you stop working with us, then, your website will burst into flames or something. And that's always been nonsense. So it's our mission to work to the point that our clients don't need us. My accountant disagrees with that, but that's his problem.
Right. You talked about, Google uses all these things to differentiate between good business and weed out the not so good ones. How does SEO work in this? Means my good work, how can that be reflected in SEO? Is it about reviews? Is it about something beyond that? Because even the not so good guys can spend a lot of money on SEO.
The not so good guys can spend a lot of money on SEO, but there's certain things that you can't fake, or at least very, very difficult to fake. So when people talk about the algorithm changing or Google changing something, it just means they've got better at weeding out the fakes, basically. So think about what a good business is. If you were walking down your high street and there were two shoe shops next to each other, and one of the shoe shops might not look so smart, but you see everybody coming out of the shoe shop with a smile on their face, and you see people going back to the same shoe shop for years and years. The shoe shop next to it might look incredible, but everybody in there looks miserable. No one's coming out there with new shoes. No one looks happy. That's I've never used this analogy before, but that's kind of what Google's looking for. They don't just look at your website. Reviews are important, increasingly so, but they also look at things like, well, how often is your brand talked about elsewhere on the web? So one of the things we do in SEO is try and get people excited about your brand. I'll give you a good example of how we've done this recently. We have a client who has a holiday business. He's built some lovely barns or like lodges that people can go on holiday and they can take their dog. So we worked with a PR agent to get them coverage in national newspapers. So Google looks at their business, looks at their website, which is lovely, of course, because we helped build it. And they go, right, this company looks good. This looks like they might be a reliable, genuine company. And also all these parts of the press are also mentioning this brand. So it's a kind of, it's a way of making sure your reputation is understood. We can't create a reputation for you. You have to do that as the business owner, but we will amplify every good thing you do. And yeah, reviews and mentions in the press are two really big ways you can do that. Unfortunately, it's not easy.
Right. What are the biggest mistakes, some of the mistakes that businesses might be making, but they are not aware of? What is it that you'd like to tell them about this?
First of all, I want to reassure you that it's very hard to make big mistakes that are going to cause you issues with Google. I think a lot of business owners make the mistake of being worried about being punished by Google. Google doesn't punish anyone. If they think you're up to no good, they just ignore you. They just disregard you. They're not going to send people around to your house to smash your windows or anything. So one of the biggest mistakes is worrying too much about what Google thinks. In more practical terms, it can be a mistake if you work with an SEO agency or somebody who does SEO that's very, very cheap. I mean, like a few dollars, because what they might be doing is buying links. They might be buying links from bad places on the web that will help your website go up in Google for a short while, but then it's going to start going back down. Yeah, the biggest mistake is worrying too much. Just crack on, just carry on doing good things.
Right, right. So should we, create our SEO existence only looking at Google, or are there other places also that we should think of? Because Google is Google, and anything can happen tomorrow. We don't know. So should my business only be based on Google?
AJ, that's a very good question, and it's one that I very much like. So when I first started, we did SEO for Hotbot and Alta Vista and Yahoo and several names that haven't existed for a long time. And it was a crazy time, but we've now had 20 years of just going, right, Google. Google's the only thing to worry about. The reason I'm smiling is that Bing has been a search engine. So Microsoft search engine Bing has been a search engine that people in SEO have been kind of ignoring for quite a while. We're all looking at Google and looking at all these things that Google tells us about how they interpret whether you're a good business or not. We've just been ignoring Bing. But the reality is that has changed a little bit recently. With the increasing usage of AI, especially ChatGPT, people aren't using search engines as much as they used to. I mean, it's still early days. The number of people using Google is still much higher, but crucially, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, has had a lot of investment from Microsoft, who own Bing. So if you ask if you ask ChatGPT a question and it has to go out to the web to look for information, it doesn't use Google; it uses Bing. So yes, you're right. It is shifting, but the crucial thing to remember here is going back to one of my earlier points about SEO just being about making your website understandable and attractive to your clients and customers. That means it doesn't matter if Google shut down tomorrow and everybody moved to Bing or moved to DuckDuckGo or moved to any number of many other search engines. If you've made the emphasis on your website clarity and understanding, you'll still be in a good position. It's not like if you've optimized for Google for the last 10 years and then everyone starts using Bing that your time's wasted. It's not at all. All search engines want the same thing. It just so happens that Google is huge at the moment.
Right, at the moment. But yeah, as you rightly said, Chat GPT is there, and now they have got the Chat GPT search also, so you can directly search something from there. But everyone has been so brought up in a way that they only know about Google. How do you get on Bing? What is the is there a door towards that? Or is it or some sort of, you talked about Google Console, Google Analytics. How do you ensure that you are also tracking at least Bing? And I don't know if there are others to be that need to be tracked at this point in time, but at least Bing. What is the best way to also know what's happening with my algorithm and with my standing on Bing?
You've already given the answer partially. Bing does have an equivalent of Google Search Console. I think it's called, I should know off the top of my head, I think it's called Bing Webmaster Tools. And you can sign up to that and see how well you're performing. But the really easy way to do it is just to start an incognito or a private browsing window in whatever browser you use. Go to bing.com and just search for yourself. You will be there. It seems to be a lot easier to rank highly on Bing than it is on Google, probably because there's just not as much competition.
Right. Technically, if I understand, we are on the internet, and these are the search engines, and they show our standing as per their algorithm on those search engines. Am I right?
You say that again, please?
Technically, we are on the internet engines to find whatever we want to find, and they show those results as per their understanding of that business, individual, entity, or whatever, as per their understanding, their algorithm. The same thing will show up a bit differently on Bing, bit differently on DuckDuckGo, a bit differently on Google search, and so many others. Is that right?
That is right, because they all look for very slightly different things, but they are only quite small variations on the common theme, which is they're looking for authoritative, trustworthy businesses. One of the questions I quite often get asked around AI is well, why do we still need websites? Are we wasting our time investing in a website? And you're not, because whichever AI model it is, whether it's ChatGPT or Bard, or there's lots of Claude, there's lots of them, they still have to get that information from somewhere. And that somewhere is probably always going to be your website. And I don't want to get technical, but if anybody is watching this or listening to it and they're thinking, look, we've been working hard with our website, we want to make sure we're not going to lose our gains, then look up schema code, SCHEMA, also called rich snippets. It's a way of putting information on your website in a format that's readily understandable, not just by search engines, but also by AI. It's like a way of formatting information. So humans look at your website, they still see it the way they should, because you should always optimize for humans before search engines. But if you have schema code on your site, you're just saying to the search engines, hey, look, over here, I'm making it really, really easy for you to understand. FAQs are a good example of that. When you search for something on Google and there's a little bit that says people also asked, That's done with schema code. So that's the only technical word I'm going to mention in this episode. But if
Right.
people are
You mean
looking for a way forward, do that.
so snippets you mean.
Rich, yes, snippets, exactly that.
Snippets. So in fact, that's an opportunity for a lot of people who are not ranking in that sense, but through snippets they can get on top to the on top of any search.
You absolutely can. We call it position zero. So the common historical thing with SEO is you're trying to get to position one. You're trying to be the first result. So, for example, on Google, you've got the adverts, you've got the Google ads, and then you've got this little bit that's been there for a few years that will be FAQs. It could be recipes, it could be pictures, it could be geographical information, it could be any number of things. But you're completely right. It appears above organic results. And it's more likely to appear in position zero if you already rank well for other things. But it's a good opportunity for very, very small businesses with very small budgets to operate intelligently to beat far larger companies. I initially got into SEO because I started a badge making company. So yeah, I've got one here. Just little metal badges. I don't know. I'm sorry, listeners aren't going to know what I'm doing
Right.
there. But when I started that company many, many, many years ago, I had no money for marketing. I could afford to buy the badge making machine, and that was it. And at the time, there were lots of very, very big badge companies in the UK. I mean, multi-million pound companies. And then there was me. I had no budget, but I used SEO to put my company website at the top of Google almost instantly. And I haven't owned the company for many years. I sold it a long time ago, but they're still at number one. So it's in the Bible, there's David versus Goliath. I think SEO is a brilliant way, a brilliant way for very small companies to take down the giants. And that's still one of the things that really excites me about it. You
Right.
don't have to be a big company.
Right, Andrew. So now let's talk about the AI part of it. There are so many voices that Google will start uh, ignoring AI results and all. Again, they kept quiet. They spoke something, then again they kept quiet. Now I don't know what the latest position is. You know, uh, so how should we look at? Should SEO be pure human work, or should we look at AI there? What is the correct position as of now? Because tomorrow we don't know. Anything can change.
It's worth noting that Google doesn't really know. So at first, as you say, they said, if we find AI content, we're just going to ignore it. The problem with Google for that is that they then launched Google Bard, which is an AI writing tool. So you
Right.
can imagine like Google saying, we're going to ignore AI. And then the investors of Google who have foot the bill for Google Bard AI writer to be made are going, hang on a minute, why are we investing money in making a content generation tool? So it gets complicated. Google doesn't really know. What they're saying at the moment is they don't care if content is AI generated. What they care about is that it's helpful. One of the last big algorithm updates was called the helpful content update. So ultimately, they don't care. What they're trying to make clear is that if you build a website using AI and give it, write 1,000 pages on it in a month, in a day or whatever, they're going to look at that and go, that doesn't look like a real company. It doesn't look trustworthy and authoritative. So ultimately, I keep coming back to the same thing of just be excellent. Use AI content if you want, but look at it and think to yourself honestly and be brutally honest with yourself. If my client was reading this, would they know I'd said it? Because the problem with a lot of AI generated content is it's very American. So here in the UK, when we write content for a website, we're quite neutral. We don't get overexcited. Whereas some American websites are like the fabulous, best, ultimate, most amazing. And that's not, wouldn't put that on my website because that's not the way I speak, and so that's the thing. Again, don't worry. I want to remove the stress from SEO. Use AI if you want. I will give you a tip that something we use it for, which is really, really good. Keep using the word authoritative. And if we're writing an article for a client on a particular topic, we'll write the article and then we'll say to ChatGPT, We are trying to write the best article on this topic in the world. Let's say dogs going on holiday. We want this to be the best article on dogs going on holiday that has ever been written. Then we paste the article in and we say, what have we missed? What angle have we missed? And AI is very, very useful for that, because none of us humans are perfect. And believe me, AI is far from perfect, but it is good at analysis. And we find that incredibly helpful, because dogs going on holiday, something, it might say, look, you haven't talked about making sure you know where the nearest vet is to where you're going on holiday. And we look at it and go, do you know what? Wouldn't have thought of that. Let's write a paragraph for that. So that's where it's very, very useful. Yeah, but if you press go and generate 1,000 pages, Google's just going to go, what's that? That's junk.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit about your company, agency. Uh, who is your best client, and for which best client, which industry is your agency best, or is it good for anyone out there?
We are an ethical SEO agency, as most are, and that means that we can't work with two clients who are in the same industry. So, for example, if we're talking about the dog holiday thing, we wouldn't work with another company that does dog holidays, because so much of our work is trying to spot opportunities that other people haven't spotted. That if we had two clients doing the same thing, who would we give the opportunity to? So it would be unethical. That being said, we like working with manufacturing companies, or anybody who makes something, or anyone who's invented something, or anyone who's doing something with their business that's a little bit different. And the reason for that is partly because I've started and sold businesses, and I just enjoy the process of entrepreneurship, but also because if you're creating something new, you're already putting yourself ahead of your competitors. And if I'm honest, it makes our job a little bit easier. But our favorite type of client is one who we can collaborate with, because we are never going to know more than our clients about the niche that they operate in. So if we're expected to just go away and do all the work, we're not going to get results that are as exciting as if we're collaborating with the client. It's a 50-50 thing, because we're never going to be as good as you are at your business.
Absolutely. There is much to understand about SEO, about so many other things related to Google, Bing, and search. So, for all those people who would want to learn from you about your agency, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best way to do it is just to go to our website, which is at yeseo.io. So that's yeseo.io. But we're on a mission to help business owners without them having to give us money. So the best thing to do for that is search on YouTube and search for the Business Amplifier podcast. Once a week, I bring in an expert in their field, and we give actionable, easily to understand advice to anyone who'll watch. It's also a podcast, so you can also find us on all the podcast platforms by searching for the Business Amplifier.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, AJ.